Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. 49% of small business owners say that managing cash flow is the most stressful part of their business. 31% of those are losing sleep over the issue. 21% say their physical health is being affected, putting a strain on personal relationships. So, what's going on, and how can small business owners manage the impact? From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. The latest working capital research report from American Express reflects some of the harsh realities that people are really hurting out there. Leanne Faulkner, founder of Fortitude at Work and a small business mental health advocate, says it's important to understand the nuances of small business and not lump the issues into the same bucket as large businesses. Leanne is talking to me about the solutions for small business owners, but she starts by exploring the facts behind the figures and some of the issues small business owners are facing.
There's no denying that we do know that there is a direct link between our financials in small business and our mental health. And this report has really brought it down to just looking at cash flow. And what we know is that we don't work alone when it comes to managing our money. So this report's shown that 53% of us in small business really do rely on our customers to pay on time. And when that gets blown out past the due date on an invoice, for example, then we're really going to put a strain on our cash flow. We also know that so many of us in small business are still affected by emergencies, by crises that have happened. And boy, have we had a lot of them over the last few years. We know, and this is very typical in small business, that so many small business owners self-fund. So we're actually paying for our own outgoing expenses out of our own pocket, really. So that's bound to put a stress, particularly at the moment where cost of living is increasing, interest rates are increasing, inflation's on the rise. So there's quite a strain on our own personal expenses. And we also know from this report that well over a third of small business owners who were actually surveyed said that they're feeling overwhelmed at this time, particularly when it comes to cash flow management. And quite often we just don't even know where to start.
Well, for business owners that do recognise cash flow as a stressor, what are some of the things that they can do to manage the situation?
Well, luckily, there's many things that we can do. And the very first thing that I would recommend is it's time to get brave. And it's time to learn about the numbers. So often I'll meet a small business owner who'll say, look, I'm fantastic with the ideas, I'm excellent with marketing, love all of those things, and I'm scared of the numbers. I just don't know them. Well, now's the time more than ever to become brave and familiar. Go out and ask those people who are your trusted advisors to help you better understand what's going on in your business. And I'd say that if you feel, I couldn't ask my accountant for help, or I couldn't ask my bookkeeper for advice because I'd feel embarrassed, then perhaps that's the time to find new ones, because we all need a safe space to say, listen, I'm nervous, I don't have any money in the bank at the moment, and I don't know what's going on. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing I'd recommend is, where appropriate, like where you feel comfortable that you can, don't be afraid to share your experience or to share what you need. For example, for me, nowadays, I work as a sole trader. And so what I have on all of my invoices at the bottom is a little comment that says, I'm a sole trader. I'm dependent on having a tight cash flow. I appreciate sticking to my payment terms, which are 14 days. And I think that that's very important, that we're sharing with people how important cash flow is in small business. Otherwise, people just assume that we've got, money in the pocket and we'll be fine. There's no rush there. And I think the other third really important thing is start to look at some of the management levers that we have available to us in small business. So perhaps ask the question either of yourself or of your bookkeeper or your accountant, how can I extend my working capital cycles? What do I need to do? How can I get some help and support with my business partners to put some more money in the bank for me? And then finally, I guess there's the really obvious one. Don't be tardy when it comes to chasing payments. Don't be afraid. Stay on point. So if I have a client who is overdue on their invoice, I'm not afraid to send them a friendly reminder first and then follow up promptly. It's my responsibility to try and chase that money.
It's such good points, Leanne, and leads beautifully into something else that you've said, which is that small business is a nuanced industry and shouldn't be conflated with issues facing large businesses. What are those nuances and why should they be kept separate?
Well, it's just such a mistake to assume that a small business is a small version of a large business. That is absolutely not the case. The reason for that is because small business, we have much flatter structures. Quite often the business owner is working in the business. And in fact, 64% of all small businesses in this country don't even have employees. So we're sole operators. We're wearing all the hats. We're doing absolutely everything. So I think we need to remember that. I think we also need to keep in mind that we are self-funded. So quite often we're paying for things out of our own pocket, or we're the last to get paid. If we have employees, we're doing all of our statutory obligations. We're paying everybody else. And if there's something left over, we might pay ourselves. Very different to the way corporates would run. And then finally, I think we need to remember that we're quite diverse. So you will find small business across a range of industries. And so because we're spread across a range of industries, we may not seem to have as loud a voice as large business. But in fact, that's because we're in pockets of all industries here in Australia. So our voice perhaps isn't quite as loud as some of the bigger players in town. And I think we need to remember that and remember to invite small business to the table in all instances.
Well, finally, despite the mental health impact that cash flow is having, the good news is that 72% of business owners are actually optimistic about the future of their business. What are some of the things that you suggest owners do to seek support and to try and stay positive in this environment?
We actually know from the research that small business owners love hearing from other small business owners. So I've got a couple of suggestions here. One of the first things I do is perhaps seek out other small business owners in your area or in your location that seem to be doing cash flow well. So people that you're comfortable with, go and have a cup of coffee with other business owners and say, hey, what are you doing? Pinch some ideas off them. If you're not able to do that, or perhaps you don't know them as well, you're not as comfortable to have that conversation, there are some fantastic programs around that will help to support small business owners through this period. One in particular that I love is being facilitated or organised by Beyond Blue. It's called New Access for Small Business Owners, and it recognises the value of working one-on-one with a small business owner, a business coach, but who also understands the stressors and anxieties that might come with balancing cash flow or managing it. And they're able to offer some tips and tools to not only look at the pragmatic or practical side of running the business, but also how to care for yourself. There's also some other great resources with the Australian Small Business Family Enterprise Ombudsman. I know that's a mouthful, ASBFEO. .gov.au, go and have a look. They have a fantastic portal called My Business Health, and that will actually help you to find direct resources for any challenges that you might be having. And there's a fantastic program called Heads Up, again, organised and managed by Beyond Blue. Check them out. Free resources online. And we know that quite often small business people will be working out of hours to do their books, try and manage their cash flow. So if you feel, your blood pressure rising, your stress levels happening at 11 o'clock at night, go and check out the resources as a way to kind of relieve some of that anxiety and hopefully get some sleep after that.
That was Leanne Faulkner, small business mental health advocate and founder of Fortitude at Work. For more about Leanne and her small business mental health advocacy, or to access any of the great resources she mentioned, links are available in the show notes of this episode. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.